The Ohio State Buckeyes have just landed a top 10 recruit to add to their already loaded defensive line room, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Columbus Football 365. Only 3.6% of viewers are subscribed to the channel. Guys, please, you're not subscribed and you're an Ohio State football fan, hit that subscribe button. But let's get into the news for today. Coming from Hayes Fawcett, the artist behind all committed posters, Jameer Whyce has committed today to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Jameer Weiss coming in at 6'4", 270 pounds, a defensive tackle, blue chip height. Got the weight that you're looking for, coming out of Dayton, Ohio by way of Trotwood Madison High School, class of 2028. So he's not going to be joining the Ohio State Buckeyes on the football field for a little while, but it's awesome to see Ohio State continuing to bring in top level talent, recruiting well. That's what happens when you are the highest ranked team in the country and the defending champion. I always say, if you're going to be a good recruiting school, you have to make sure that you're recruiting well inside your own state. That is exactly what Ohio State has done with this player, and out recruiting Ohio. I got to say it because it's true, but obviously Ohio State versus the University of Ohio play at completely different levels, so it's easier for us, but it is important when you are the state school to out recruit all the other states in your state. Now, moving on to 24/7 Sports player rating. He is ranked nationally 9, according to them, their second highest rated defensive lineman and the number 1 rated player in the state of Ohio. Now, under that, you can see 24/7 Sports composite grade. This is taking into account ratings from outside of 24/7 Sports. So Weiss is a top 10 player according to 24/7 Sports, but according to some other people, there is not as much agreement as to how high this player should be ranked, hence the nationally 33 ranked composite score. So the way you understand this is he is a top 10 player according to 24/7 Sports, who I personally, this is the website that I trust the most, but go out and trust whatever recruiting websites you want to go trust. I always say it's really, really tough for these high school recruiters to figure out who the best players are, because all these high school teams are playing against different levels of competition. It's really difficult to figure out who actually are the top guys. So they look at traits, and for lack of a better word, they're really guessing with a lot of these guys. Some top guys don't work out. A lot of them do. It is exciting that Ohio State is picking up this guy, but composite, he is ranked the 33 nationally player, number 5 defensive lineman, and the number 2 player in the state of Ohio. But Ohio State has to make sure they're continuing to do whatever they can to make sure they're bringing in the top level guys. Last season, we watched Tyleik Williams and JT Tuimoloau move on to the NFL after being drafted highly. Just more of the history, in Ohio State's history of D linemen being drafted very, very highly. So we watched Chase Young be drafted highly. The Bosa brothers, Ohio State just keeps pumping them out. And I have no doubt that Jameer Weiss, if he's able to live up to his immense talent, he is someone who we can expect to do great things on Saturday for us, and then eventually, hopefully, do great things in the NFL as well. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Ohio State picking up this amazing prospect. A lot of other schools were looking at Jameer Weiss. Of course, that's what happens when you are one of the top players in the entire class, but he's just someone that Ohio State fans need to be very, very excited to pick up, because the Big Ten is a league where you got to control the line of scrimmage. Every single team in this league is trying to run the ball right through your face. So you got to make sure that you have great defensive tackles, great defensive linemen, and that's why it is so important to get the guys that are, big and heavy, but still in shape enough to be mobile enough to make the big play, end up in the backfield, and just be an overall monster on that defensive line. This week, the Ohio State Buckeyes will be facing the University of Wisconsin, and we know that they are going to look at their number one thing they want to do against us is going to be run the football. They've had varying levels of success over their past couple of weeks, but looking at the prediction for this game, according to CVS Sports, they wrote, Ohio State continues to roll under Ryan Day, while Wisconsin is searching for answers under Luke Fickell as the losses and questions pile up. Historically, the trends might suggest leaning towards Wisconsin, with Day owning a 14-13 against the spread record in the Big Ten road games since 2019. But that edge disappears when considering Fickell's 3 2-7 against the spread mark at home in conference play since 2022. The pick, Ohio State minus 26.5. So 26.5 is a monumental number. That's just really, really big for a conference game and a road game. Or, the road team being that big of a favorite is kind of rare. This, I don't want to keep saying this, but on paper, this Wisconsin game is a huge mismatch. One of my friends that texted me earlier saying it was a tragedy that a real network is actually carrying this game because it's going to be that big of a blowout. He's, of course, not an Ohio State fan, but just a fan of college football in general. And if you want to watch close, competitive college football games, this probably isn't going to be the game to watch. But if you're on this channel, I have to imagine you're an Ohio State fan. You want to watch Ohio State roll over teams. Wisconsin really should be a team that Ohio State is able to run the ball all over. Like I said in my last video, if they're able to stop the run against Wisconsin, their quarterbacks, whoever they decide to roll out, they've already started 3 different quarterbacks and we're only halfway done with the season. Those quarterbacks are not very good at passing the ball. Their arm strength is not good enough to hit shots down the field. So we don't even really have to, the play action, you don't even have to react to it too much. The run game, if their run game starts to get going, that's the only avenue they have to succeed. And the fact that they don't have enough ways to win this football game is what would make me extremely worried as a Wisconsin fan. But I'm sure that they got a great history, great tradition. I'm sure that the fans in Wisconsin at Camp Randall Stadium, they're going to be ready to play hard. One stat that was not said, Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes so far this season are 5-1 against the spread. The only game that Ohio State did not cover the spread was the Ohio game. That was a little bit weird. First half, our offense wasn't really able to get going. And in the red zone, Ohio State's offense was really just not producing, not executing, and turned a lot of potential touchdown drives into field goal drives instead. That's why Ohio State did not cover the spread. But in the other games, Ohio State has been blowing people out and has been covering those spreads very nicely. So, CBS Sports has the pick at taking Ohio State minus the points. I'm personally also taking Ohio State minus the points because I've watched 5 Wisconsin football games this weekend, not including the Alabama game that I watched live against, in Wisconsin versus Alabama. They've been getting blasted. This team, I don't want to overlook them, but they're looking really, really bad. Ryan Day saying all the right things where he's saying, they're well coached. They play good teams. They play them tough. Whether it's true or not, Ryan Day is making sure to not give the Wisconsin Badgers bulletin board material. He doesn't want to make this game into anything more than it is. This is just a game that Ohio State has to go 1-0, add the 1 on the right side of the record when it comes to Big Ten play, continue to stay undefeated in the Big Ten, and just keep rolling on. After this game, it's going to be a bye week rolling into the Penn State game. I really don't know what to expect from Penn State after James Franklin got fired. If we get the Penn State that played against Northwestern or UCLA, those were teams that quit on their head coach. They weren't playing hard at all. But Penn State in the NFL, it's a little bit weird. A lot of the time when a head coach gets fired, the next couple weeks, the players play really, really hard because they're fired up. There's a big change and they play harder. So we don't want Penn State to react like that on November 1st versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. Although, they're going to understand the situation. They're going to understand they're not playing against Northwestern or UCLA. This is an opportunity for the Penn State Nittany Lions on November 1st to play spoiler to a team that expects to be finishing the year as the number 1 team in the country and the Big Ten champion. So they're going to try to play spoiler on the season. They're going to be coming out with some fire. It is on Ohio State. Beat Wisconsin. Make sure that you take care of business versus Penn State. I mean, you really shouldn't be losing to a team without a head coach, but we will see what happens. Jameer Whyce, very excited to be bringing him in to the Ohio State Buckeye program, even if we do have to wait 3 years into 2028 to go pick him up. Just one more thing we got to add. You got to remember to keep recruiting this kid. Make sure he doesn't reopen his commitment, because with NIL and with the transfer portal, I know, he can't enter the transfer portal, but in this new era of college football, you really never know what your team is going to look like. You have to make sure that you are recruiting inside your locker room as well as outside your locker room. Ryan Day and the rest of the Ohio State Buckeye coaching staff will have to make sure that they continue to check up on Jameer Weiss just to make sure that all of his expectations are getting met and to make sure that we can keep this player as as excited as possible, as happy as possible, and make sure that we really lock in that commitment to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Can't wait to bring this guy into the fold. He should be an absolute monster in 2028 when he arrives on campus for Ohio State. But that's what I got for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Go Buckeyes.